Ah.
It might pick me up.
Lewis, can you hear us all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to week 6 of writing workshops. This one is about dialogue. So what is dialogue? I hope you know. It's what a character says to another character or otherwise. And this can include conversation between two characters and one character speaking thoughts out loud, also known as a soliloquy, and others. Here's an example. So it's like, what do you want me to say? Anything, I guess. It's just a conversation between two characters. Uses of dialogue. The dialogue can be used as a story tool for world building. It gives the player insight on the speaker or other characters, the setting, plot, or conflict. And an example is, no one has survived a trip to the ruins in nearly a century. I'm not about to be the fool dumb enough to think that I can break that record. And here's an example I pulled from Hollow Knight. This is from the Mask Maker. I see another takes mantle of king, then grim responsibility that shall bestow. So this is an example of dialogue use to develop the world. And here's another one from Night in the Woods. And you can see the conversation between these two characters in the top left. Like back as in today, back as in back. Too bad you didn't die at college. Smile. Too bad you didn't catch a flesh-eating disease. Too bad you didn't join a murder cult. Next, we have dialogue as a story tool used for tone. The presence or lack of dialogue influences the way the game feels. Serious dialogue can create lasting emotional impact during the climax. Silly, intentional, overdramatic dialogue creates a fun tone for parody games. Intentional lack of dialogue can create an isolated atmosphere / disconnect between the characters and the player, etc. And here's an example from Mass Effect. Rex is saying, this base can't be destroyed, I won't allow it. And the player has a choice between these dialogue options. And it looks like the one that's being selected right now is, these aren't your people. Here's another example from Immortals Phoenix Rising. And it's a quote from Ares. I am he, once the mighty god of war, now reduced to an easily startled pile of feathers.
That game wasn't good.
That game was. And here's an example of no dialogue. This is from Children of Light, Sky Children of Light. Dialogue in games can guide the player to where they need to go, what they need to do. And here's a quote, but you must traverse the ruins to slay the beast. So this is an example of dialogue trying to guide the player of what they need to do within the game. Here's the USI triangle of dialogue. It shows dialogue is represented on this shape between useful, short, and interesting. And normally you want your dialogue to be a balance between these three qualities. You don't want it to be too useful, too short, or too interesting, because that can become stale for the player. And here's an example from Pokemon Heart Gold. This is at the beginning of the game. And the professor is saying, why don't you take the Pokemon Gym Challenge? So I thought this was an example of the USI triangle because it's short, it's useful, and it's interesting. It's telling the player about this challenge that exists within this world. And it's a goal that they need to fulfill within the game. Here's another example from the Dark Pictures anthology. It's from the curator. I passed, methought, the melancholy flood with that sour ferryman.
That game sucks.
Why should our dialogue be short? Technical constraints, limited space for text. Example is card games. Another one is player interest. You don't want to take 10 lines for what the player or what can be established into, or you'll lose the player's attention. And then there's succinct writing. It's generally a good practice, regardless of the medium, to keep your dialogue short. It encourages deliberate writing and word choice. And of course, budget. You want to save voice actors time and your team's money. And here are some tools for dialogue. For general writing, it may differ from project to project, whether using a custom dialogue system or one from online. Generally, any word processor is fine. Screenplay format is pretty effective when it comes to writing. And spreadsheets can also be used for less linear writing. You can list character, trigger, and dialogue. Some dialogue tools can be read from files generated by spreadsheets. And some formats of spreadsheets, CSV and TSV. Here's a picture representing dialogue in a spreadsheet. You can see a column represents character. There's a column for trigger and character per line. And so you might have a program that parses the spreadsheet and turns it into a game program. Here's also an example of screenplay writing. You can see the format, it's all centered. Like
This is not a draft.
okay. Character saying the dialogue is ordered like this. A program you can use is Twine. Pros for Twine, it's easy to learn. It's light on programming. There's very good documentation on it. It's easy to share, and there's a graphical interface. And some cons for it is there's several different formatting styles, which can be confusing to new people, and it doesn't integrate Unity. There is a tool called Cradle that can implement Twine in Unity. Here's a picture of Twine.
Oh, it's my game.
Mhm. Another tool you could use is Yarn. It has a similar style to Twine. The programming is similar, and there's a graphical interface. Unlike Twine, it integrates easily with Unity, and it can be set up to interact directly with the game. But unfortunately, it has weaker documentation, and it's pretty complicated to install. Need GUI supplementary program to install, separate code test. And remember this example from earlier? This dialogue up here, I believe, is an example of Yarn. And the last program we have to explain is Ink. The pros for Ink is it integrates easily with Unity. It can be exported to JSON format, if you know what that is. It's good for text-heavy games. There's good documentation on it, and it's easier to work with if you have a programming background. And the cons for that is most technical of the three that we showed today. It's hard to learn without programmer experience, and there's no graphical interface. It reads like regular code. So this is an example of Ink. You can see there is pretty confusing syntax. But if you're a programmer, it might seem more intuitive to you. And finally, we have an activity. So write a few lines of dialogue that accomplish the following. You want to instruct the player to do something, tell us about the speaker, and make sure it's shorter than 15 words. I also included the USI triangle if you want to reference it. And here are some sample prompts of characters that might say this dialogue. So, like, she is the strongest fighter in the land and she knows it. She got beaten badly by the villain and has to ask the players to help fight them. Another one you can reference is, he's a poet cursed to speak in only rhymes. He needs the player to bring an orange. Another one is, the old mentor figure teaches the player a new technique. It's time to tell them how to use it. The players The player character's best friend is trying to convince you to let them join the party. You know they're gonna die if they do. And an ancient forest spirit wants a player to defeat 12 forest wolves. Oh, you get 50 silver and 180 XP for doing so. All right. Where can I place this? Give you about 10 minutes to come up with some dialogue, and after we can reconvene and share. We also play some music while we're waiting. Oh. right, does anyone here need more time with this? All right. Does anyone want to share what they wrote for this?
Let's see, I came up with two.
Okay,
So one for the old mentor. He doesn't explain how to use it, but this is what he says right before that. So he says, I've been training you for long enough. Now you must fly with your own wings.
that's pretty good.
And then for the poet, I said, please don't be foreign to this troubadour. Find an orange in the storage and I'll pay your mortgage.
Ooh, I like that. It's especially tricky because, yeah. Nice. Oh, it looks like we have one message in chat. Daniel says, the cure for rhyme lies past this orange, shaped like a delectable orange. Hmm. Nice rhyme for orange. All right. Does anyone else want to share?
I have one, like kind of made out of my own thing.
All right.
So basically I was thinking, okay, so maybe there's this like kind of rich dude who's kind of like, he's usually fine and all that, but he has like I'm thinking maybe he has like a sweetheart of sorts, right? And anytime he like tries to like talk to them or something, he just like crumbles apart. So he's written this letter, but he can't bring himself to actually deliver it. But the letter does mean a lot to him. So he needs someone. So he needs at least someone to actually help deliver this letter. So
Okay.
it's pretty to the point. It's just look, this is embarrassing, but I'll give you 15 gold to deliver this letter to them. So like the way it's yeah, it's the 15 gold to deliver a letter shows how valuable it is to them.
Yeah, I think that captures the character that you described pretty well. We also have another message in the chat. So you wish to train under me, the Sword King? Then show me your skill. You good? Yeah. I guess if no one else has anything to share, that's it for this workshop. Thank you for coming. And yeah,
See you guys later.
yeah, see ya. With this.